You may remember factors of production from macro. If you don't, please go back and watch that video. It's going to make this easier on all of us. Okay, so for those of you who didn't go back and bother watching that video, here's a quick review of the factors. Physical, manufactured tools, equipments, buildings, blah, blah, blah. Human, improvements in education and knowledge that improves labor. Entrepreneurship, innovation in risk-taking. Land, resources provided by nature. There you go. So, for factor markets, they operate much like the goods market, but they use the supply of labor and the demand of labor. And basically, you flip who's buying and who's selling, because households have to provide the labor, and firms have to buy the labor. Labor in that case. Any factors. Households own the labor, households own the factors. Firms buy the factors. Labor just happens to be one of those factors. In fact, factor markets do relate to the goods markets identically because of the fact that if demand of a good increases, demand of the factors that are going to produce that good are also going to increase so that they can produce more of those factors, right? This is called derived demand. The concept that demand for a factor is derived from demand of the good it produces. So, there are a couple of things that can change. I'll wait for this car to pass. There are a couple of things that can change the factor market. It can be a change in preferences and social norms, right? During World Wars, when women were finally allowed to enter the workforce, that changed the supply of labor. There was more of it, so the curve shifted, right? I've never been in this neighborhood before. This is very nice. This is very nice indeed. In fact, that might be... I think I know the person who lives there. Fun. There's also population, right? More people in the population means more people in the workforce, right? Yeah, makes sense. Opportunity. If workers have better opportunities in different labor markets, then they are going to go to those markets, right? Then they're going to go to those markets, right? Let's say that I'm getting paid a whole heck of a lot more to work at McDonald's than I am to work at JCPenney's. Well, the food industry is going to receive a lot more workers because people are going to go where there's opportunity, right? Remember, everyone's thinking about themselves in this. And wealth. The more money that people are earning, the more time they're going to spend on leisure, which is anything they do that isn't work, right? So you have leisure and work back and forth. If you're not doing one, you're doing the other. And if you're making a lot more money, you're going to spend more time on leisure stuff. So you're going to spend less time working. So the higher wages are, the less labor is coming out overall. Seems a little counterintuitive, but there you have it. And in fact, we're going to be taking a closer look at factor demands, factors, and all of this in the chalkboard.
So we're going to take a hot second to look at some of the factor demand graphs. So
Let's throw this up. We're going to put quantity of product on one side and quantity of labor on the other side. This graph is going to look a little bit like this. Then we're going to throw up another graph. We're going to have the marginal product of labor. And we're going to have the quantity of labor. Whoopsies. That was definitely the wrong transition to use. I'm very sorry about that. But anyway, you're going to have that graph there. Basically what you're looking at is on the left you have your total product, and on your right you have the marginal product of labor. It's just like diminishing returns. Or the graph on the right is basically the derivative of the graph on the left. You're going to hire until your marginal product of labor is 0. Now, let's look at a perfectly competitive labor market. You have your wage rate and your quantity of labor, and it's going to be your basic supply and demand graph, right? You're going to have your equilibrium there, which is going to be your wage rate across the entire thing. You're also going to have your market labor supply curve, which is that one right there. And that's going to be, that yellow line there is going to be where the quantity of labors that you hire, right? Because there's your wage rate again. That's your quantity of labor. It's the same as the last one. Quantity of labor, again, same bad transition, my bad. Imperfectly competitive. I'm going to put that graph back up. Quantity of labor. We have the graph again. My animations are screwed up again. I'm going to apologize once more for that. Your wage rate across, because you still have to get the wage from the market, but in fact that's actually slightly misleading. So what you see there, that orange line, is the marginal factor cost of labor. So that wage rate, the market graph that you're looking at on the left, is actually not a part of this at all, because imperfectly competitive is a monopsony where the producer chooses the price, basically. So that is because of the law of diminishing production, where basically if you need to hire another worker, you have to pay not only that worker more, but you have to pay every other worker more as well. It's the same as what happens in a monopoly. You're going to have your wage rate, and again, your messed up transition. Again, very sorry about that. That's all my bad. Now, there's one thing I need you all to remember. You're going to hire until your marginal revenue per labor is equal to your marginal factor cost of labor. Your marginal revenue product of labor is equal to your marginal factor cost of labor. If I can go back a second and click through some of this. Give me a second. This really isn't a good program at all. This is perfectly competitive. I don't need this. Shoot. This is 100% my bad. I'm very sorry. We're just going all the way through. Who knows if anyone's even going to watch this part. It'll probably just get skipped through as everything flashes and is destroyed. But, you know, whatever. So, the other one, there you go. So, notice how the yellow line on this one is moved over, on the graph on the right is moved over further on the left. That's where the wage rate, which you know in this one isn't being chosen by the market, so that graph is wrong. It's actually being chosen by the monopsony, or the hirer. And you're going to do it where there's a demand graph. It's not a perfectly elastic graph. Back to you in the car, Duncan. Thank you guys for watching. This is Duncan Fox driving away with AP Economics.